Welcome to Life, Death, and the Law, presented by the law firm of Deason, Garner, and Hansen, hosted by attorneys Shawn Garner and Adam Hansen.
Yes, there's climate change. Yes, it will affect humanity to the extent that it's going to destroy us and our world. Okay, is there something we can do about it? Let's say yes to that. What are the things that you can do about it? The first thing is, number one, you change the mindset of the world population. That's what you'd have to do. Going back to what this guy was saying, he's saying, in England, we account for 2% of the carbon emissions. So even if we fell off into the ocean, we would have no effect on climate change. 2% of our carbon emissions is not going to change the world. And he argued that what's really the carbon emission culprit here is Asia and Latin America, and it's the poor people. They don't care about saving the planet. They care about eating day to day and finding water sources that are clean. And so they're not going to... Why are you shaking your head?
How self-centered and greedy can you be? Come on.
That's the reality. I mean, you've lived in Brazil, Shawn.
You're going to deny me driving my SUV because you want to eat dinner?
Well, that's the mindset.
Every day.
Individuals don't care about carbon emissions when you are starving on the street.
Right.
So the reality, let's talk about realities. If you are to change the mindset of Latin Americans and poor people in Asia, that is insurmountable. You can't do that. You cannot change a person's mindset. They have to change their mindset on their own. That's not going to happen. So that is not a viable option. That's not a solution. If, in fact, we even get to this third question, is there something we can do about it? Number two, what can we do? Well, we can force people. We can force people to change their habits through government means. We can tax people for using fossil fuels. We can force on them moratoriums of, hey, we're not going to sell combustible engines by this year 2025. For example, in California, you must go all electric. So you can, by government means, you can force it on a population. Is that going to have an effect worldwide? No, because Latin America, Asia, they're not going to do that. They are in it to make money at the very top, and at the very bottom, they could care less about improving our world.
Dude, some of these markets are still using leaded gasoline.
Yeah, rightfully so. Am I right?
Well, I think you missed the biggest tiers, first of all.
Wait.
Hold on.
I've got one more thing.
But no, this complements what you're saying, that we're not going to be able to change their mind. A lot of these markets are still using animal dung and wood.
Right.
So leaded gasoline, I mean, you're way, 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 way up there in the Industrial Revolution for them to have gotten to that point. We're talking about individuals who are living hand to mouth, cooking their food on wood they collect that day. Okay, now go ahead.
So we've talked about, okay, is there something we can do about it? Yes, we've said yes to that question. I mentioned you can't change. The one solution is you change the entire world's mindset. Not going to happen. That is impossible to do. You can't change a person's mind. They have to do that on their own. The reality that that's going to happen, not going to happen. Shawn tries to do this all the time with me. Never happens.
It works. You just don't know it.
That's true.
Inception.
It's Jedi mind tricks.
There's a lot of Jedi.
The second solution would be, well, we're going to force the populations around the world to take on clean energy sources like what is thrust on us in California or around the United States, which would be clean energy through electricity, through solar, and through wind. What you don't hear is nuclear. I'm going to get to that. I know you perked up. So
No. But yeah, I would object to those even being classified as clean. But go ahead.
Okay, so the last solution would be what I would argue is the only viable solution, even if there is climate change, even if it is destroying humanity, and even if there is something we can do about it. The best solution to that would be to innovate and to work hard. And I think that's the only solution that would be viable on a world setting. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like, I mean, you mentioned, Shawn, you would argue with this clean energy sources like solar and wind. My argument is nuclear. Go all nuclear using these small nuclear modules that they've designed that can power cities like Yuma easily.
Well, and that's for the major grid. But I don't think nuclear is an answer overall, and I used to, but as I've researched this more, and Mark Schellenberger, he's a wonderful advocate for nuclear, and so is Alex Epstein, the point is, nuclear can be used well for things that are stationary and very, very large mobile objects like submarines, potentially even airplanes, but not cars. You could use nuclear to charge batteries for electric cars, but you're not going to have a nuclear reactor in an individual automobile driving around or in a small plane. You're going to have it for giant planes, for submarines, certainly for transatlantic shipping. Those should all be nuclear. I don't understand why those are still burning on diesel fuel. We have the technology and have had it since the 60s to have nuclear very safe and operated on these ships. And so anyway, the things that we can't use nuclear for are cell phones, right? The little electronics that we use every day and all the time, it would be hard to use nuclear for. But yes, for the main grid or for charging batteries, you could use nuclear for. And I suppose to the extent that everything went to a battery-powered or propelled object, then yes. But I don't see a plane becoming a battery-operated or battery-propelled thing, because batteries are just too darn heavy, right? And fossil fuel is so much more efficient and light in comparison to that. So nuclear would have a hard time transitioning into that. But for other things, yes, for the most part of it. So we can't go 100% nuclear, but we can solve a lot of the issues with it.
Well, you missed my answer, though. I said innovation and work. And so, yes, I agree with you in our myopic view right now. But when you have a innovator who comes in and says, well, we have this problem with an airplane where the batteries are really not a solution as we know them now. If we were to pack a battery or an airplane with lithium-ion batteries, it's way too heavy. We can't get that bird off the ground. But what if we reduce the weight of our battery technology? Let's look for ways to do that. So innovation and hard work,
yeah, absolutely,
could solve those issues. That's what I'm arguing.
And here I will agree with you and up the ante even a little bit more. Not just looking for 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6 types of innovations, like we're looking at wind and solar, and what else is there? Wind and solar that are considered green energy.
Oh, hydropowers.
Hydro.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but a lot of environmentalists don't even like that. Electricity, they've dammed up the rivers and they've created these artificial landscapes where the fish thrive and all the wildlife around them do well, but it's not natural.
Oh, I'm thinking like what Finland and Sweden, they're using the ocean.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. So there you go. Or geothermal.
Oh, yeah.
And so those are theoretically clean. And when I say theoretically, because you got to look into all of the materials that goes into manufacturing those things and the lifespan of the object. So the materials that goes into manufacturing solar panels, that's not clean on the environment at all. You have to carve out huge gaping holes in the earth to get the raw material to produce the solar panel, and currently you're doing that by throwing the humanitarian efforts out the window by having child labor do it, and then you're leaving these gaping craters in the earth as a result. So that's not environmentally friendly to do that. As far as solar goes, you're doing these with a lot of it is fiberglass, and that's produced through chemical reactions, and it's not super environmentally friendly. The bigger part is the lifespan of those windmills is only about 25 years, and they're gigantic. And to cut them up and dispose of them is very difficult, and it's going to fill up large spaces of landfills. So then again, maybe you're not digging so large holes to create them, but you're piling up debris to get rid of them. And the same thing with the solar panels. They only have a lifespan of right now about 25 years, and they've got a lot of metals that are environmental hazards that we got to dispose of properly, that we don't have really good, large-scale, clean recycling options for those. So that's the reason my argument is, on some, they're not actually environmentally friendly. They're not actually controlling the carbon footprint, because it takes large machines to make these implements of solar power and wind power and even geothermal power and hydropower through the oceans, currents, and so on and so forth. So we haven't got to that point yet. But what I would recommend, and what has been proven throughout history, and especially through this experiment, which is free market society and a free society where people are allowed to own the objects of manufacturing and production, is have 1,000 options, all competing against each other simultaneously. So we've got 1,000 people competing in different levels of some combination of maybe some solar-propelled energy in combination with nuclear, in combination with wind, in combination with hydro, in combination with something that we haven't even thought of yet, in combination with fusion and fission, and well, fission is nuclear, but fusion as well. And all of those things, all of those ideas coming out freely instead of the government, who we know and have been shown time and time again are the most incompetent people to run businesses, telling us what type of alternative energy we need to be using, and then funding all of our tax dollars into that type of alternative energy like solar and wind. It's like, no, don't fund any of it unless you do it on a merit basis and then fund 1,000 different ideas and see which prevails in the free market with all of that innovation.
If you have questions or want to know more about something that was discussed today, please call the law firm of Deason, Garner, and Hansen at 928-783-4575 or visit yumaestateplanning.com.